Okay, so as to not waste any time, good morning again. I'm David Killian. I'm here at Skeena Creek Campground in the North Georgia mountains, where I'm host, caretaker, manager, wondering why the hot water line in the kitchen is frozen this morning. uh, so far, it doesn't appear that any water lines are burst, and I've got cold water running and the sun is shining. Things are starting to warm up. I'm hoping that things will get back to normal shortly. So I I know some of you have been seeing my shares from a certain website called the Venus Project, based in a little town in Venus, Florida. I've only recently come across this myself, a couple of months ago, actually, maybe 3 months ago, and I've become very excited about it. Um, the 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 proposal of the Venus Project, in a nutshell, is that we have reached a point in the history of humanity where it is necessary for a certain drastic rethinking of how we treat each other and how we treat the earth. I would suggest and hope and wish and pray that anybody, everybody, all y'all have a look at the Venus Project in depth. There are extensive informations available at thevenusproject.com regarding these proposals, mostly devised, invented, if you will, put on paper, modeled, developed, videoed by a man named Jacques Fresco, who at this time is 98 years old, still alive and kicking, and who has pretty brilliantly spent his life devoted to the concept of the development of what he calls, and others as well call, a resource-based economy. Now, a resource-based economy, as opposed to or compared to our present and, well, our present type of economy, which is a money-based economy, a consumption-based economy, a sales-based economy, at this point, a corporate economy. The difference between a resource-based economy and a monetary economy is that in a resource-based economy, all goods and services are provided to all people worldwide free of charge. Yes, free of charge. Not only that, in Jacques Fresco's Venus Project proposals, the technology that is available today is capable of supporting this idea, this system, if you will, to the point that humans, all of us, you, me, everybody, worldwide, are not only totally cared for in every aspect of everyday life, but are free of the drudgery slash slavery to which most of us are, what's the word I'm looking for? We'll skip it. Most of us are involved with the economy in that way today. In other words, we need to and do go to work every day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. 9 to 5 is the basic concept. Others work swing shift nights. Others work 2 jobs. Single mothers caring for their kids. Can't get by on food stamps alone. Again, I suggest, because I'm not personally able to bring the point across as well as the Venus Project website does. I repeat, there are extensive informations available, and it is highly advisable that anybody interested, instead of watching whatever primetime shows you watch on TV, whichever night of the week, you sit down and look at some of these proposals and ideas on the Venus Project website. And I'll warn you in advance, you can spend as much time as you spend watching your favorite soap opera or evening sitcom or whatever it is that you, or surfing on Facebook. You can spend as much time and more familiarizing yourself with these ideas, as well as linking to related ideas. So enough about that for the moment, just because they can and do provide the information much better than I'm able to. My intention goes somewhat further, but I will, in my mind and here and now, link, if you will, to a certain idea that Jacques Fresco repeats over and over, that being that in order to make a transition from our present way of thought worldwide and our present social setup, that being, in a nutshell, the monetary economy to which we are enslaved, it is necessary for a fresh form of thinking to evolve. Now, this is a tricky subject, in the sense that we all, in our own individual ways, and yet as humanity as a whole, we are stuck in the thought modes which have been ingrained into our DNA, into our way of life, into our every way of thinking. We're stuck in this way of thinking until we come up with some other device, some other way of thought. Now, again, I have to relate back to the Venus Project and to, well, zeitgeist. I'm sure that rings a bell with a lot of people. I'm sorry that I can't fluently and uninterruptedly voice my thoughts on these subjects without these constant pauses on my part, trying to formulate the thoughts in my own mind. I'm sorry that I'm not able to do that, and I hope that anybody watching can and will bear with me and eventually respond and help me with formulating these thoughts. But the fact is that I'm rather new to the resource-based economy, even zeitgeist. Even though I've heard of the term zeitgeist, I've looked at the certain videos online, documentaries, all emanating from that movement. But having only recently been in-depth exposed to these ideas, I have a hard time formulating my thoughts around all of them in order to connect the dots, would be a good way to put it, and formulate a larger picture. But that's what I feel inside of me is necessary, and I feel I've had this feeling for a long time that, I don't know, maybe I'm autistic and have a certain innate ability that I just haven't gotten behind yet to possibly do exactly that. Produce a new direction of thinking that many people can embrace, and maybe even more importantly, that might in some way, when many people do embrace it, have certain effects that will push our existence in a certain necessary direction, which I'm sure many that might eventually see these dialogues agree is necessary in order for us, humanity as a whole, to survive and thrive on this planet. There is a lot of argument today in scientific circles, in government circles, in religious circles, in basically any social circle you can come up with. There's a lot of argument today about the direction that we are going and whether or not this and that and the other of our habitual daily existence is actually sustainable. To me personally, there is no argument. It is obvious to me that the direction that we're going as humanity, as a race, as a whole, is absolutely unsustainable. It's dangerous, and it's eventually self-destructing. We will, I believe, destroy ourselves as a species if we continue in the way that we are going. There's also a good amount, good isn't a good word for that. There's also a large amount of uncertainty, unclarity when it comes to the questions and answers that need to be formulated and come up with in order to push ourselves as a species in the direction that we need to go. Let me try to make that a little bit clearer. If we continue to use the methods of debate, discussion, etc., that we use now, we probably will find ourselves run out of time and the ability to survive before we reach a consensus or a bundle of answers, or better yet, a working platform that will allow us to make the transition from, to put it bluntly, destroying our environment and killing each other and consuming more than we need. I mean, who doesn't have a bunch of shit laying around their house that they absolutely don't need? And who isn't caught up in the cycle, the yearly cycle of Christmas, you name it, Easter, 4th of July, this holiday, that holiday, the other holiday, the let's take a vacation and go wherever using whatever destructive means to get there, using whatever destructive means to entertain ourselves while we're there. All these unnecessary entertainments that keep us happy. Who isn't guilty of indulging in those to some extent or another? Now, to make the transition from the way we live now to a different form of global existence that perpetuates health, well-being, happiness, and cooperation and harmony on a global scale, I hope I didn't lose my line of thought here, but to make that transition, the methods of discussion and progression and discovery and development that we use now are not enough. They're not capable of making that transition in a suitable amount of time to reverse the damage that we're doing, that we continue to do, and that is eventually going to destroy us all, just like the dinosaurs. And don't get me wrong, I don't think it was the dinosaurs' fault that they went extinct. If it was a meteor slamming the earth and causing global darkness for 1,000 years, or whatever it was millions of years ago that caused the dinosaurs to go extinct, it wasn't their fault. Humanity, on the other hand, we are destroying ourselves. We are destroying our capability to survive on this planet. In ways that are, don't take it from me, do the research and inform yourself. And it's my belief that when you do establish a basis of information and start thinking about these things, that you'll realize that what I'm saying rings true. to a large extent. Um, I'm hoping, and let me change the subject so as to calm down a little bit, and describe my situation where I am now, and how my situation might allow a certain forum to come together. I am in a small campground in the mountains of North Georgia, near Blue Ridge, Georgia. The actual mailing address is the little town of Suches, 15 miles from here. Blue Ridge is 15 miles up yonder. A town called Blairsville, 15 miles over so. And this campground is privately owned. A hearty thank you to Miss Martha, the owner, for recognizing me when she saw me flying my cardboard sign at Walmart in Blairsville last summer with a bicycle and trailer and my dog and a backpack, having been on the road for a couple of months at that time, slow tripping up into the mountains out of Gainesville, Georgia, where my daughter lives with my 4 grandsons and her husband. And it's a rather quiet campground. As a matter of fact, I go days on end, especially now in the wintertime, without anybody visiting at all. When I got here shortly before the 4th of July, I was I had the pleasure of experiencing the 4th of July weekend here. There were only several campsites out of the 40 or so normally available campsites that we have here, um, occupied through the 4th of July, whereas in the greater area, campgrounds tend to be packed and sold out during the summer months. We, on the other hand, have a very quiet, peaceful, slow sort of business here. I say we, being myself the host, caretaker, manager of the place, who's here all the time. I don't own a vehicle. I don't drive anymore. I don't own a vehicle. I don't get out very much at all. There are a couple of contacts here locally who will take the time out of their day to haul my ass to town shopping, Walmart, Ingles grocery store, Home Depot, all the stops that I need to do on maybe a monthly shopping trip, to keep myself supplied in what I need, and to pick up things that are needed for the campground. Uh, the point being, I'm in a quiet, peaceful campground in the North Georgia mountains where anybody is welcome to come visit, and I would welcome personally anyone who would like to come visit on the basis of spending time discussing these topics with me, not only, well, in order to share. I'm looking for sharing of ideas. I can only watch so much of everything that's available on the internet, even stuff that's new to me, and there's plenty of it. I've been looking at quantum physics, for crying out loud, even though I'm by no means a scientist, but there are certain lines of thought, in the quantum world that relate to the things that I'm thinking about, and so I would eventually welcome any and all interested who might have the means to come camp, enjoy our little campground, enjoy the beautiful mountain scenery in the area, and sit down around a campfire at night and have intelligent conversations that could go anywhere. So I probably should get out and check on the animals. I've got a half dozen rabbits, 1 buck, and 5 does in what I call the Rabbitat out on the back 40, along with the chickens, a dozen chickens, rooster, and well, 7, 8, 9, 10 hens, so 11 chickens. And it was really cold here last night, and all their water was frozen. I've already been up this morning and have taken warm water back to the barnyard to be sure that the animals have hydration. But it is about time for me to do a little walkabout, so I'll get back to y'all in a while. Thanks for listening.